The 23-year history of the Dallas Cowboys is steeped in a winning tradition that has produced an illustrious honor roll of outstanding players. These men, so famous, so celebrated, became collectively known as America's team. But this long line of white-hatted heroes has not been without its black sheep, the most infamous being Duane Thomas. Thomas was the Cowboys' #1 draft pick in 1970, a choice that stunned the critics. But his distinctive running style ate up yards, and doubters ate their words.
Duane Thomas was a unique player when he came into the league because he had a very unusual gliding motion when he ran. He would look like he was going maybe 3/4 the speed, and then he would see an opening and would have a very, very smooth burst and a very good feel when he got into the secondary.
Thomas gained over 800 yards in his rookie year, and his rushing average was the highest in the NFL. He could also block and catch. He was a complete running back, cast in the mold of Jimmy Brown, who appeared to be a model team player.
And it was something that I didn't mind doing. I didn't mind paying the price to win, because that's what I was there for. You know, people unite on the basis of what they have in common. And football was something that we all had in common, and we united on that. And we were able to achieve this goal, and that had a domino effect, because everyone had something to contribute.
To complement Garrison, there was rookie Duane Thomas, whose free-flowing syrup strides carried him over 800 yards in 1970. Thomas's rushing average was the best in football, and he became the brightest glow in football's most devastating running attack. Duane Thomas, a new explosive element in an old formula for victory.
Rucker in motion. Here comes Thomas. Around Bruce Taylor. He has a first down out at the 47-yard line. He is absolutely something else. Duane Thomas. Size and speed and moves, he has it all.
I think he gave you an indication right there of how much speed he does have. It looked like Bruce Taylor had a good angle on him, and he just turned it on and got to the outside and got a first down. He is absolutely amazing.
There he is. What a day. Duane Thomas, rookie, West Texas State.
Dallas began another long drive. Number 32, Walt Garrison, had returned to the lineup, and his blocking cleared the way for Duane Thomas, the sensational rookie from West Texas State. Some people think the Cowboys used psychology to pick Thomas #1 because of their low order in the draft. Many clubs passed him up despite his obvious ability because reports that he was moody and unresponsive had filtered out of Texas. Someone was wrong somewhere, for all Thomas had done in his first season was to put Calvin Hill on the bench and rank 5th in the conference in running. And he didn't start until the 5th game of the season.
This boy, Duane Thomas, who is, Tom Landry's called him the greatest running back in the history of the Cowboys, only his first year. They're already comparing him to Jimmy Brown. What do you think about him?
Well, it's no doubt that he's a great athlete. He's done wonders for the Dallas team so far this year. And there are a couple other young backs that are also tremendous, like Ron Johnson from the Giants and O.J. Simpson. But people might tend to overlook the other half of the Dallas running game, Walt Garrison. I think Garrison does a tremendous job for the Cowboys.
Running back Duane Thomas, number 33, is a Dallas Rookie of the Year. He became a starter in the 6th game of the season and finished as the top Cowboy runner with 803 yards, the 5th best of the National Conference. No score, 9 to go in the first period. That was Rucker in motion. Duane Thomas ganged up on the Baltimore 45. Jim Duncan barreling in from his right cornerback spot, putting the tackle on him. Duane Thomas, who Tom Landry has called the greatest runner in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. Just a rookie, came into his own in the 6th game against Kansas City when Calvin Hill became injured. And now he's carried that ball since.
The Cowboys won their first NFC championship in 1970, but smiles disappeared the next year when Thomas proved a goldfish can behave like a shark in the same fishbowl.
I thought he was going to be one of the greatest running backs of all time. And then unfortunately something happened in his second year that changed his whole attitude, and then it got to be very miserable to be around.
These forces, whatever they were, whether it was an agent or his feelings towards life, he went into a shell, and he was tough to communicate with, and it affected his play and it affected his opportunities in the National Football League.
1971 was the silent season of Duane Thomas. A loner, isolated from the team, he became an enigma known as the Sphinx.
I made a statement prior to going into the season. I said, gentlemen, this is my last interview. Believe me. Because what? I'm going to work. That's why I was brought up. Because we were brought up this way. When you're working, you don't talk. But you get more things done.
Duane Thomas's mental state was always a topic of conversation that season. He never felt part of the team, but he was always a big part of the game plan.
Duane Thomas gave everything he had. He blocked hard, he ran hard, he played hard, and he was very smart. Duane rarely made a mistake.
I got the opportunity to play 5 or 6 years against Jim Brown, and I just had visions of Jim Brown coming back to life, because Duane, he had those same moves, the ones, you think you have him and he just wiggles out of it, or he gives you a limp leg. He could really go off tackle, about as good as I ever saw, and start kneading his way through the linebackers in the secondary. Just almost like music. In fact, I can see it right now.
Some players do their talking on the field. Duane Thomas didn't talk at all. After he returned that summer from his 5-day trade to New England, Thomas decided not to talk to the media or his teammates.
He made a decision not to speak to anybody. I mean, one guy asked him how he was feeling. He said, "Are you a doctor?" I mean, these are what he replied to us when we asked him questions. So personally, I just always, every day, made it a point to say, "Hi, Duane. Hi, Duane. How are you? Good to see you." Something like that. That's what I did. And every once in a while, he'd just have a little smile. That was it. Never said a word. And I do know that Duane, when he came off the field, everybody would pat him on the back and tell him, "Great run." And that was it. I don't recall that he ever acknowledged it. I think he just sat down, put his head down, and that was it until he had to go back out.
In 1971, Dallas was the overwhelming favorite to win the Super Bowl. It was supposed to be their year. But the quarterback battle suddenly became a mere sideshow when one player turned summer camp into a circus.
You have guys on the team that they would have played for anything. Well, I wouldn't have played for anything.
The previous year, running back Duane Thomas, number 33, averaged over 5 yards a carry and won the NFL Rookie of the Year. Now, in his second year, Thomas went to team president Tex Schramm and asked for a new contract.
For Rookie of the Year of the NFL, you know what I got? $5,000. This player named Don Parrish was a friend of mine. You know what Don Parrish got just for Rookie of the Year on his team? $25,000. He received what my whole salary was, just for Rookie of the Year on his team. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's not, oh, no, he didn't do that. Tex, I saw the check stub. The Cowboys knew I needed money. I mean, my rookie year, I was broke.
When the Cowboys refused to renegotiate, Thomas staged a holdout and then lashed out in the media.
They interviewed Duane, and in the paper, we were reading it, and I don't remember the whole article. I just remember he called Tex a liar and a cheat and a hypocrite. Tex said, well, he got 2 out of 3 right, and he called Coach Landry Plastic Man, which none of us knew what that meant. I still don't know what it means.
What was going on with Duane was, I didn't really understand it. I mean, there was the beginning of some reluctance to do a few things, and they traded him.
On July 31st, the Cowboys traded their best running back to New England. The first order of business for Patriots head coach John Mazer was to ask Thomas to line up in an I formation. Number 33 was accustomed to an upright position. Mazer preferred a 3-point stance.
So I'm in an up position in the I formation. And Mazer just yells out, "Get down!" I look over to the side. What do you mean? I thought he was talking to someone else. I couldn't believe he was telling me to get down in I formation. Jim Nance, big Jim Nance, is the fullback. Jim Nance's butt is about yay big, okay? It's like high mine a building. So he's telling me to get down in an I formation, sticking my head right behind Jim Nance's ass. I said, oh, no. So I said, Coach, well, do you know the theory and the philosophy of an I formation? Get off the field. I said, fine. Now, I proceeded off the field.
The Patriots petitioned Commissioner Pete Rozelle to reverse the trade. In an unprecedented decision, Rozelle dissolved the deal, citing moral and ethical reasons. 5 days after he was traded, Duane Thomas was returned to the Cowboys.
I thought they cut him, or, I didn't know he was traded. And then he came back, and then I found out later, many years later, that he'd actually gone to another team and spent a few days and come back to the Cowboys.
The NFL's most buttoned-down, business-like franchise suddenly had a season-long soap opera on their hands. The Cowboys welcomed him back to the roster, but Duane Thomas never allowed himself to be part of the team.
Boy, people knew how treacherous these people were and what extent they would go to. And yet instead come right in front of the public and say, we really love having Duane here, and we're doing all that we can within our powers to screw him in his ass, okay?
And we've got another feature coming up for you tonight that should be interesting. The possible first appearance of number 33. Duane Thomas just activated, the great back of a year ago who helped lead the Cowboys to the Super Bowl.
Another high kick, which Thompson will field in the end zone, and he'll run it out. Rocky Thompson back to the 15-yard line. Duane Thomas down to make the tackle, number 33, who's just been activated, as Howard mentioned at the top of our telecast.
Well, now let's see what the Giants can do offensively. You're looking at Duane Thomas now, of course, as he seeks to get in there and make the tackle. This young man is apparently fired up for a very great many reasons, many of them personal, many of them confusing and not understood by these reporters and by the American public. But he is a very great football player, and we'll watch him at every opportunity tonight.
Duane Thomas is the other setback. 1st and 10 for the Cowboys. They're on their own 47-yard line. Lance Allwood, motion right. Duane Thomas.
Well,
Duane
Thomas is back.
To see him run with that ball and listen to this crowd respond to it was quite spine-tingling, I would say, because he did duck to the outside real well. Number 33, Duane Thomas, got good block by Reeves, 30. And the fella does have some unusual ability. He can really run with that football.
Immediate acceleration. Exciting player to watch. The statistics of a year ago speak for themselves.
The average is what's really impressive to me. On 151 attempts, he averaged 5.3.
Another first down for the Cowboys. They're on the Giants' 42.
Duane Thomas again. And he's something else. To the 34-yard line goes Duane Thomas.
Oh, is this crowd alive? They've wanted Duane back all along, and they are really alive.
I really don't believe they did in the beginning, Howard, because the crowd, the people here in Dallas were very negative toward Duane. He came out and spoke very bluntly about some of the things he didn't like, a lot of other things that we don't know about, but the general feeling was that Duane got what was coming to him, and that was he's not going to play football. It's amazing how these things can be forgotten when he runs 2 times and carries 20 yards.
I believe it was Tom Landry who said last year this man has the potential to become another Jim Brown and Gale Sayers wrapped into one.
Calvin Hill would miss the next 6 games as a result of the Spiders' hit, but the loss hardly left Dallas without a leg to stand on. Enter Duane Thomas, number 33. Thomas not only filled in for Hill for the remainder of the game, he took his place for the remainder of the season and led Dallas with 793 yards rushing. A national TV audience was getting a good look at a future Super Bowl hero.
Number 33, Duane Thomas, opened the season as Dallas' most outspoken orator. But now he has put his true talent to use. Thomas just might be the most gifted power speed runner in the game, and with Calvin Hill as his partner, trying to stop the Dallas attack is like standing in front of a runaway freight train.
With the quarterback carousel in full spin, the Cowboys added to the carnival atmosphere of the '71 season by staging a mid-season move. Dallas bid farewell to the Cotton Bowl, where they had enjoyed one of the best home field advantages in the league, and ushered in the NFL's most luxurious and modern facility, Texas Stadium. But it wasn't a popular decision.
I didn't look at Texas Stadium as being a big thing. As a matter of fact, I enjoyed the Cotton Bowl better.
They probably didn't want to air condition it, so they had the hole in the roof. I mean, there was reasons they gave for the hole in the roof, so God could watch his son coach.
It was a more sterile atmosphere. I mean, it was like there just wasn't a lot of shouting and noise.
And it was interesting how the crowd responded after a touchdown or a play. It was like, bravo, bravo. And that was the extent of it.
It was the NFL's version of the Taj Mahal, a huge revenue producer for an already wealthy team. Yet the Cowboys still managed to underpay their players.
Jethro Pugh was making $16,500. He was 4 years All-Pro. And so I wonder if this just a racial thing, just a black thing. I said, let me find what the white boys are doing. So I talked to Bob, and then Bob said he's making $27,000. I said, $27,000? That's it?
But the 11 Pro Bowls I went to, about the last 8 of them, we always talked about salary. When I negotiated with Tex, and I told him, some of these defensive linemen I met are making $100. And he said, don't you know they're just pulling your leg? He said, they're just trying to make you angry at us. And, I didn't know whether to believe him or not.
For years, the Cowboys' strategy was to underpay big names like Lilly and Starback, and then tell the rest of the team they couldn't make more than the stars.
I said, oh, this is not a racial thing. This is a greed and power thing. This is playing us against one another.
I didn't have an agent, and I'm not saying that's good. I probably wish I would have had an agent, someone that could have got between myself and Tex.
Tex was a willing dealer, but to me, he was someone that you really couldn't trust. Yeah, you really couldn't trust.
In 1971, although Thomas ran silent, he ran deep. He gained over 800 yards and scored the most touchdowns by any runner in the league. But for all the excitement he created on the field, off it, he created turmoil and tension.
When you got that kind of tension in your football team, it's pretty tough. And he would be in a meeting room, and he'd have his head down, his eyes closed the whole time. He'd never look or talk or anything in the meeting room.
At the early meeting, you were considered late if you didn't answer your name when it was called on roll. And so Duane never answered his name. And usually they would skip over it. This one particular day, the guy who was calling roll, for some reason decided that, Duane was going to answer here or, like everybody else. And he said Thomas, and Duane said nothing. He said Thomas. And finally, he said Thomas maybe 10 times, and Duane didn't say anything. So I think it was Mike Ditka stood up and said, well, Duane, if you're here, why don't you answer like the rest of us? And, Duane sort of looked at him and smiled at him, and he was sitting in these, we were sitting in these little elementary school seats, these primary school seats, and he just took a seat and reversed it and faced the back of the room.
He kind of got away with some things that you would think that Coach Landry, but he really didn't break the rules. I mean, he didn't come late to meetings. He wasn't late to practice.
I didn't come in with the attitude of disruption. However, when I exposed my true personality, it was disruptive to other personalities on the team, but it was not disruptive to the performance of the team.
One Cowboy in particular bore the brunt of Thomas's peculiar personality. Backup running back Dan Reeves shared a position with Thomas, but rarely shared a civil moment.
Dan was a player coach at that particular point in time, and so he was calling roll. Now, we down to the regular team here. And he opens his roll book up, Jethro, Pugh, Bob Lilly, Tom Stensick, and it goes on, and then he gets to Duane. 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 Don't you see me? And he just kept going over and over, like some nincompoop. And I'm sitting up there, I mean, how dumb can you be?
Jordan here, Pugh here, so forth. And he might go, or something. A little bit of rebellion there, I know, but we'd always look at him and shake our head. But I'll tell you, get him on the football field.
Duane Thomas led the league in touchdowns.
He picks it off to Thomas, one-handed catch. To the 50, to the 10, to the 5. Thomas scores! Great catch, tremendous run.
Most of the games that we won, we knew we were going to win. And that's a great feeling. Where you know that you know that you know.
The Cowboys never had trouble getting to the big games. Winning them was always the problem. In Super Bowl VI, they faced an up-and-coming team, the Miami Dolphins.
I think their main catalyst in the defense is their linebacker. Bonaconte's all over the field. And I think this is probably one reason why they've done so well. They're obviously a good defensive team, or they wouldn't be where they are.
Our basic thought is naturally we have to contain the running game, the great running game of the Dallas Cowboys. They have Calvin Hill and Duane Thomas and Walt Garrison, and anytime you have three great running backs like that, and a lot of publicity is not given to Walt Garrison because of the Duane Thomas and Calvin Hill, then you have to expect that they're going to come out and try to establish their running game against us.
The Miami Dolphins defense was built on speed and pursuit, and those traits were personified by Nick Bonaconte, their middle linebacker. The Cowboys' strategy was to take his best assets and convert them into liabilities.
He's tough, he's strong, he's got great recognition and great lateral movement. He'll really go after the play. Therefore, we have to control him.
Tom was always talking about Nick Bonaconte. Oh, man. This white boy can't be that great. Yeah.
The film work paid off. Duane Thomas led the Cowboys with 95 yards rushing. As a team, they piled up a record 252 yards on the ground. The Cowboys disguised their runs and had Bonaconte, number 85, going the wrong way all day.
The ball would start this way, the defense would start pursuing, and then the ball carrier would cut back, and our offensive lineman would literally shove their lineman the wrong way. It was just incredible to watch how really a game plan could come together.
At the 3, pitch out to Thomas. Duane cuts inside the 5 with a 2 and a touchdown for Duane Thomas.
Indeed, the calendar had turned when the clock struck 0. It was finally next year, for the team known as next year's champs.
We had to struggle for so long. I mean, 11 years of my life, I struggled with all my teammates, and we finally won it, and it was just like being free. I don't know, I mean, I've never felt that way before, that you just felt like you could pretty near fly.
It's a sense of accomplishment that can't, like, I haven't had anything to replace it yet.
Duane, how are you?
All right.
My name's Tom Brookshire, and it's nice to talk to you. And behind you is a fellow that used to run over me for a living, the great Jimmy Brown. How are you, Jim?
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Duane, you do things with speed, but you never hurry. A lot like the great Jim Brown. You never hurry into a hole. You take your time, make a spin, yet you still outrun people. Are you that fast? Are you that quick, would you say?
Evidently.
All these championships.
Duane Thomas's one-word answer was fitting. It seemed nothing lasted very long when it came to the Cowboys' first championship. At the next training camp, Duane Thomas was even more isolated and insubordinate than the previous year.
During the off-season after that year, it looks and appears that he did get on drugs after that year, and then when he came back, you can never tell what he was going to be like in any given day. You might walk by him one day and he would say, you say hello to him and he would say hello to you. The next day he'd say, hey, leave me alone. Yeah, don't talk to me. I would have probably suspended any other player that would have acted as he did. And the reason that we could tolerate him is that he never made any errors when he went on the field. So obviously he's listening and he was studying. And the result was we were able to go to the Super Bowl, but it was almost unreal the way he was that particular year.
Thomas almost burnt down the house the Cowboys had carefully built, but he ran through the fires like a man wearing an asbestos suit. He ran Dallas to their second straight NFC title and into Super Bowl VI, where his legs carried them to their first world championship. Not lost amidst Super Bowl euphoria was Tom Landry's uncharacteristic coddling of Duane Thomas, a fact that came to bear the next season.
Tom Landry is pretty consistent as far as how he treats players. Duane was a very difficult situation and had to be treated a bit different, or they would have had to get rid of him immediately. Landry really tried to work with Duane.
No one knew how I was going to react or how he was going to react, so therefore you had tension all the time.
Of course, you had to treat Duane Thomas one way and 44 players a different way, and I just never felt like that was a good situation to be in, and I'm sure that Coach Landry felt like he could bring him around, but eventually, he just felt like it was, he didn't have any choice and you had to get rid of him.
It came to force the next season in training camp when Duane did not go to practice. He was traded to San Diego.
The Chargers tried to get Thomas in step, but he had become a morose, tragic figure, a shell of the player he once was. In San Diego, he not only wasn't heard, he wasn't seen. He suited up for only one game, but didn't play. He ended up with the Redskins in 1974, where his career finally became a corpse. To this day, the Sphinx remains a riddle that may never be solved.
Before the start of the 1972 regular season, Thomas was traded to the San Diego Chargers.
It was downhill that whole training camp, and finally he had to go. He was a big part of our first Super Bowl, and in '72 it just it totally fell apart.
In San Diego, Duane Thomas continued to self-destruct. He played his last NFL game in 1974 at the age of 27.
you know, I just can't tell people enough how good he was and how much I hated to see a person kind of waste a Hall of Fame career. I've told him that every time I've ever seen him. I said, I fully expected you to be the next Jim Brown, and I did.
Duane Thomas was always a crisis waiting to happen. But in 1971, he was also a champion. When it comes to America's team, controversy and success go hand in hand.
Every Super Bowl Dallas has won. Every last one. There's been controversy. The controversy was with Duane Thomas. The controversy was with Thomas Henderson. The controversy was with what? Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones. And they won. And Switzer. But the thing is, the Dallas has never won without controversy. Yeah, different personalities gyrate differently. But the thing is, the one thing I can say, we won.
Would it be a safe conclusion to make that Duane Thomas let his performance and not his words speak for him?
Evidently.